Hey everybody, it's Hussein Kabani, your favorite broker. I want to talk to you guys today about an experience I've had recently with the Landlord Tenant Board, or should I call it the Tenant Protection Agency. Guys, this is horrible. I know it's very blunt and straightforward, but if you guys have been watching my videos, you guys kind of know that I'm going to tell you guys the way I see it, and it's straightforward, and I'm open to your interpretation of it as well. Please let me know. We put out a story, no one was brave enough to comment and let me know what their issues were, but I got a lot with them, so I want to share them with you. My hate towards this agency right now, and maybe they have a recovery here, not as of yet because we're not on good terms, but it all started because of a very simple, complex situation that I think I simplified and then just asked for confirmation on. And I'll explain this to you. So if you're a tenant, your landlord probably takes a first and a last month rent from you, okay? And sometimes what ends up happening is that if they have any doubt about you, about your financial concern, your credit or something else like that, maybe the landlord will say, hey, give me first month and the last 2 months. Technically, you're not allowed to take the last 2 months. The most you could take, according to the Tenant Protection Agency, is only one last month for a deposit, okay? But in this case, we took 2. If the tenant agrees, so be it. It's an agreement. We're still going to apply it. So this particular tenant, good tenant, wanted to renew the lease, okay? So last year, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, in 2021, there was a rent freeze. So there was a 0% increase available for the landlord to pass on to the tenant, okay? In 2022, we are allowed to pass on a 1.2% increase. I believe the rent here was $2,000, so that would be an extra $24 a month, okay? So what happened here is that this tenant really wanted us to send them a new residential tenancy agreement with the new rent, and so that's what we did. But what they asked for is that they want the interest on the deposit that they had for the last 2 months. Now, in all my years of leasing out properties and dealing with tenants and landlords, I've never had this request. I knew it was something that could be done, but I've never had this request, so I never actually had to look into it and figure it out. Now, so I don't mind if they're rightfully owed the money. We definitely want to get it to them, but we want to sort it out. How is this supposed to work? So in trying to figure this out, I tried to go onto the Tenant Protection Agency website, and I Googled a bunch of stuff, and I'm trying to figure out how this works. So I got to a certain point of figuring out that the interest on the deposit should be at the same percentage rate of what the allowable rent increase is, okay? So then I went to a lawyer that I've been working with, and I basically, and this lawyer specializes in landlord tenant board issues, okay? Very good. She's been very helpful to me. So I asked her, like, how do I work this out, just to kind of expedite the process in all of this. And what she ended up sharing with me, very cool information, was this. Our lease started March 15th, 2021, and it went into March 14th, 2022 is when the lease is technically over. So she told me, hey, you're between 2 years actually. So the interest rate or the rent increase, same as the interest rate, should be applied individually to those years. So whatever portion was in 2021, that rent increase or that interest amount should be for the deposit in that amount of time. And whatever 2022 is, that should be the rate for the deposit held at that time. So I actually broke it out to number of days. If you guys don't know already, I'm an Excel freak. I love Excel, and I broke down everything to the number of days and calculated it all out, checked it 4 times, it's all good. So from March 15th to December 31st, 2021 was a greater chunk of the year. So really, if the rent increase was allowable 0, I'm thinking the interest rate would be 0 as well on the deposit. That would only make sense. And then we would only owe for the portion in 2022 because the allowable rent increase is 1.2%. Now, I don't know if this is right or wrong. Guys, at the end of the day, even if I use it for the whole year, didn't do any of my fancy math or anything else like that, it would be $48. No big deal. We'll pay the $48. I've assured the tenant that we'll pay the $48 if that's what it comes down to. And they're super, good about it, and they know I'm trying to sort it out. But if it works to the way that I'm thinking it's going to work, it's like $3.82. I don't have down to the penny figure, but I think it was somewhere around $3.82 for how much interest we would actually owe them. And it's not about trying to, give the tenant less and really stick it to them or anything else like that. I want to understand what it is. And the other thing also is that since this tenant sent me the email and quoted the part from the Landlord Tenant Board or the Tenant Protection Agency website, I just want to be very specific about what we're doing, just because we have to maintain this relationship as landlord-tenant moving forward. So I want to be very clear about what we're doing and how we're doing it by the guidelines. Now, I'm confused at this point. Do we do a 0% interest rate? Do we do a 1.2%? Is my math correct about between years 2021 and 2022? Two very basic questions I've sent to the Landlord Tenant Board. First of all, I called them and I stayed on the phone with them for over 2 hours on hold. Nobody got to me, okay? And that was after calling them numerous times before you can even get onto hold, okay? We got onto hold. We're waiting there for 2 hours for the Tenant Protection Agency to answer the call. They don't answer. I can't sit on the phone forever. So I ended up sending them an email, a very basic email, and I showed them the ways that I'm coming up with this and just asked them for clarification. To my surprise, they replied the next day. I was like, wow, this is quick, man. Good on them. What they replied back is that, hey, thank you so much for your email. This is the gist of it. And basically said, we don't want to discuss these issues via email because it's open to a little bit of interpretation. And, we always find it's better to address this on the phone so we can address any of the other concerns that you have at the same time. Well, after being on hold and calling them numerous times, I don't want to play this game anymore with them. And I'm not asking them for any legal advice or suggestions on what I should do. I have a very, very specific question. So I reply back to their email and I just tell them that I'm not asking you for advice. I'm just asking you for clarifications on the guidelines. And it's very simple of what I'm asking you. Is it true that I have to split it up between 2021 and 2022? And is it true that since 2021 didn't have a rent increase, I don't have to actually pay interest on that part? That would be 0%. And then the balance of this would be 1.2%. I think that's very straightforward, guys. It's your guideline. This is something that I believe that they set. This is their guideline. I just don't understand why they can't just simply say, yes, that's correct, or that's not correct, and this is how it's done. Very, very simple. And this is what's led me to being so angry with them right now. And that is very simple. So that's my personal issue with them right now, and I'm sure I'm going to get some kind of resolution with them because I'm going to raise this up. Because moving to my next point is I really feel that in all of my experience that I have talked to people and personally with the Landlord Tenant Board, they are really the Tenant Protection Agency. And I'm going to give you guys another quick example, okay? My sister wanted to lease a place. And what ended up happening is that we signed this agreement in Pickering to lease a place. The landlord was already going to be nut bar 9. I can already feel it, but my sister is 9 months pregnant and we need to get this deal done. They need more space. The condo that they were at, they're selling it. So we gotta sort this thing out. So even though this guy's nut bar 9, I said, we'll figure this out and go along with it. And what ended up happening is that we signed the deal, we give him the deposit, we don't give him the deposit, drop off the deposit to the brokerage. And I don't even remember what happened, but all of a sudden he's just yeah, I just don't want to give you guys the keys right now. We're buddy, what's going on? We need to get the keys for this property. So I called Landlord Tenant Board. I called Landlord Tenant Board and I said, and luckily I got through to them this time. And I just said, hey, we have this lease, right? We have an RTA, we have offer to lease, everything is signed up. We've given them the deposit. Now the landlord won't give us the keys. We've paid our deposits. Everything is good. Basically, they tell me, well, since you didn't originally get the keys in your hand, you're on your own. Good luck with that problem. Come on, guys, that's not fair. So in that case, they did actually somewhat protect the landlord, but I would say they actually washed their hands of the whole thing and didn't offer any support to anybody in that situation. Now, there have been other situations, and I've heard this from another agent, where they own a personal property on their own, and this tenant stopped paying rent. So they finally got an application. They filed an application with the Landlord Tenant Board to have a tribunal. So they had a Zoom call tribunal, I believe. And what ended up happening is that for some reason, the landlord, and at this point they haven't paid for 6 months, the Landlord Tenant Board agreed to give this tenant 6 months to leave the unit. How is that even possible? This person didn't get paid for 6 months by the time they got to the tribunal. And now Landlord Tenant Board sees that it's fair to let this person stay and continue to damage this property for another 6 months. what happens to the landlord in this situation? Don't we have any rights at all? Like, I get it. There's probably issues that come up with landlords that are, are not treating the tenants fairly, and I want those to be addressed as well. But I really, really, really find in the current structure, the way things are set up, and I'm sure you guys can agree, and I want to hear your comments back about it, it's really the Tenant Protection Agency. Landlords here don't really have any rights, and I really feel like something needs to change over here. If a tenant has been in a property, they've been damaging the property, they haven't been paying their rent, I'm sorry, you have nowhere to go, but it's not my fault. I'm the guy that encourages people to buy investment real estate and rent it out to build up their own net worth and to help their family and their generations to come. And a lot of these people are banking on this working out for them, and they don't have a lot of money. These are not overly wealthy people where they have a ton of money where they can just kind of keep spending and have this out-of-pocket expenses. They really need to get that rent so they can continue to buy groceries and put fuel in their cars. So I think that there's got to be more of a movement in this, and there's got to be some way of actually making this right for the landlord as well. Now, I know I've gone off on a bit of a tangent here, guys, but I am sure that somebody that's watching this has had some experience, and I would really encourage you guys to share it with me. If you don't feel comfortable leaving a comment, send me an email. My email is info@getkabani.com. I want to communicate with you guys. I want to hear your story, and I want to share your story. If there's anything I can help do, and we can work together to push this forward so we can all have more of a fair system in Ontario for landlords and tenants, not just a tenant protection agency, I want to try to work towards doing something like that. All right, guys, I know I went off on a bit of a tangent there, but I really hope that you enjoyed this video and you guys got some experience out of what I've gone through, so maybe you don't have to go, but do me a favor, like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit that little bell up there, wherever it is, to sign up for the alerts, so anytime we have these awesome videos uploaded, you will get a notification. And also follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Get Kabani. I'm a very easy guy to find there. And until next time, remember one thing, Get Kabani, get sold.
Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold. Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold. Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold. Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold.